Krishna, Hare Krishna, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Gaur Premanande, Haribo. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. We'll be reading from Bhagavad-gita as it is. We'll start with the introductory prayers on page 1. We can say those together. Om Agyanasya Chakshu Manitam Yena Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Vishna Yena Bhutale. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yati Svapadantika Vandeham Shri Kamalam
Shri Gurun Vaishnavam
Vamsha
Shri Rupam Sabajatam Sahaganam Tam Pitam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Paritash Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Namandham Jagatpate
Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauraki Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Vipa Sindhu Behevacha Patitanam Pavadebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll start on page 261 in the temple room, or start in the new chapter today, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. We'll read the Sanskrit and translation together. Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Puna Yogam Chasamsasi Yakcheya Etayorikam Dhamme Brihi Shunashitam. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely what of the two is more beneficial? Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha niristresya karavabaho, tayostu karma sanyasat, karma yoga vishishyate. The Blessed Lord said, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. Text 3. Yeya sa nitya sanyasi yo na dvesti na kangshati nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pamauchate. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty armed Arjuna. Text 4. Sankhya yoga pritagvala bhavanti na panditaraha ekam apyastita samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. Only the ignorant speak of karma, yoga, and devotional service as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths can achieve the results of both. Next text, we're on page 266, text 5. Yat Sankhya ye praptit sangyam tad yoger apigamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha ya pasyati sapasyati. One who knows that the position reached by means of renunciation can also be attained by works in devotional service, and who therefore sees that the paths of work and the path of renunciation are one, sees things as they are. Text 6. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkam aptu mayogataha yoga yukto munir brahma na chenindri yudhichyati. Unless one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. The sage purified by works of devotion achieve the supreme without delay. Text 7. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vigyatma jitendriyai sarvabhuta mahabhutma kurvanapi nalipyate. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Text 8 and 9. Naiva kinchit kiromiti yuktamanye tatatvavid pashyan shinvan praspan jekran ashnan gachan svapatsvaran kalapyan vishajan granan umasani masanapi indriyan indriyanetu artana ittidariyan. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. Text 10. Kamanyadhaya karmani sangam tyakva karoti yat lipyate na sapapena padmapadram ivambasa. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Text 11, the last text we'll take today. Kayena manasa bhutya kevalar indriyarapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva sujate. The yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. Om Jnanaturandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Ranavir Goswami Nityanamane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane. Maharaj, if you have any comments while I'm speaking, please feel free to chime in. We'd all really appreciate it. Okay, text 1. It reads, Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? So he might be having deja vu a little bit here, because chapter 3, it was entitled Karma Yoga. And chapter 5 here, it's entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So why would Krishna have 2 chapters that are about Karma Yoga? What is it that he's specifying different than just explaining the path of Karma Yoga? All right, so Arjuna here, he is asking Krishna for some clarification. He's asking, should I do Karma Tyag or should I do Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is explained here in Bhagavad-gita as carrying out your prescribed duty, doing your work, using it as a means of yoga, right? So we can understand from Gita, yoga means union with the Supreme Lord. So use your work as connecting with God and get to know Him in that way. Karma Tyag is renouncing the actions. So a great renounced person, he might just, give up all activities. But we know that he actually can't sustain this position for long because the soul is innately active. So he has to do some kind of activity. So Krishna is asking which one is more beneficial, Karma Yoga or Karma Tyag. And this is interesting because actually Arjuna, he is asked a very similar question to this 3 times. This is his 3rd time asking a very similar question in Gita. I was noticing in chapter 2, text 7, he says, now I'm confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple, my soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct. So here he's asking a very, very similar question. What to do? And then also in 3.2, he's also asking a question. Text 3.2. And it's a very similar question in the Karma Yoga chapter. He's saying, my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively what is most beneficial for me. So one might wonder why Arjuna is asking the same question to Krishna over and over, seemingly. Well, he's looking for some kind of clarification, obviously, because he's not quite getting the point. You see, Arjuna, he was quite convinced of what he wanted to do when the Battle of Kurukshetra was taking place. He was quite convinced that he wanted to step away from the battle, abandon his duty as a Kshatriya, a warrior, and go to the forest and renounce his kingdom. Because he said that my action will be tainted with blood. How can I kill those who are dear to me on the other side of this battle? So he was looking at it in relation to his body, and he was thinking that, it's not nice to fight. It's not good to fight. Let's be compassionate. Let's be peaceful. But actually, Krishna says, Higher than tyag, just renouncing your duty, is engaging in karma yoga. And for you to engage in karma yoga, you continue your duty as a kshatriya and you fight. Fight for the sake of fighting, Arjuna. So there's an old saying. So a man convinced of his will is of the same opinion still. Arjuna, he was convinced that his will is to fight. Not to fight, to abandon. So he was asking, he wasn't convinced each time that Krishna answered his questions in this way. So he had to keep asking for further clarification. So basically is Krishna, he's telling Arjuna, perform your duty. This is the only way. This is the highest thing you can do. Sukaduke samai kritva. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting. Krishna says. So this is our philosophy. We don't give up work. We don't give up the activities that we're doing. We don't renounce in that way because it's false renunciation. Now, this is a movement of renouncing material activities. And it's not that you can't just renounce material activities because we all want to act, we all want to do something. So you have to have a positive, you have to put a positive in there because we're not just renouncing things. So we're renouncing material activities, but simultaneously we're dovetailing all of our propensities in Krishna's service, and we're gaining attachment for the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna in the process. So you can't have one without the other, because one without the other, it's dry renunciation, and the dry renunciate, he falls back down into the material pool of things. So somebody who's truly renounced, like Srila Prabhupada and how he instructed us, why would I renounce the dictaphone? I can use it for my purports, for Srimad Bhagavatam and for Bhagavad-gita, is what Prabhupada would say. Why would I renounce these airplanes when I can travel all over the world and preach Krishna consciousness? So like that, we use everything in Krishna's service, as we know. This is the baseline of our philosophy. So, the third chapter, Karma Yoga, is for the practitioners of Karma Yoga. This fifth chapter, Karma Yoga Action in Krishna Consciousness, is for somebody who has actually mastered Karma Yoga. It's for somebody who has perfected his Karma Yoga. And we're being told action in Krishna consciousness because it's not that we can just renounce. We need to dovetail everything with, why am I doing this? This is one of the most important things that you must be asking yourself. Why am I doing this service today? Why am I getting up? Why am I doing all these services? If we don't keep asking ourselves, we'll forget. And then it won't be of the topmost quality. If we're conscious that everything that we're doing is for Krishna, naturally it will be of a nice quality. And if it's not when you start, you're doing it very regulated. So you'll become expert very quickly, especially if you're humble enough to ask devotees who share that service with you, Prabhu, I see you've been doing this for some years. I see that you've developed some expertise. Could you give me a few pointers or like that? It's very merciful if a devotee can help us like that. If a senior devotee can impart some wisdom that he's learned in his services, it's very nice. So there's two classic examples of a perfect karma yogi that have been given. one, we know that, Krishna, he's always doing his duty and he's the most renounced. So he's a nice example. And then Janaka Maharaj is also a nice example, right? Janaka Maharaj is the father of Sita Devi, and he was a great king, and he had all this opulence, and he had a kingdom, and he wasn't attached to any of it. He just performed his duty, but he was detached, and he was doing it for the Supreme Lord. It's a nice example. There's a lot of examples of this in our, but these are two that are nice. So we can understand that this movement, it's a big choice to come here and try it out. The material world, it's very alluring, and everyone in this room has had hopefully sufficient experience with the material world that we know that actually it's dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's a place full of miseries. There's danger at every step, and all of the things that they're telling me will make me happy, leave me unsatisfied and wanting more, actually. So there has to be more to life than, what they're telling me, because it's not working and I'm unhappy. So, I meet these devotees, or I read Prabhupada's books, and I can sense this is a different walk of man who's practicing this, actually. This is not a common man. It's rare. So there's the saying, I was thinking about this a lot when I first came here, actually. Right before I came, more distinctively. There's a saying that says something like, I believe it's a proverb in the Bible. Fools jump in where wise men dare to tread. Has anybody heard this? Yeah, so this is an important thing we should ask ourselves, especially taking this up full time. At some point, we should have asked ourselves, or at least it crossed our mind, that because this saying is saying, a fool, he might just jump right into something, but he doesn't know the severity of jumping into it, or the reaction of jumping into it. He might not understand the bigger picture. Where the wise man, he understands that, wow, this is actually something serious to jump into. So it's a cool thing to kind of contemplate when we're coming to Krishna consciousness, thinking about initiation. It's definitely something that should cross our mind before the time of initiation. But we know that actually, what I've learned in this time that I'm here, these devotees are great, and I'm learning more than ever. I'm happier than ever. Great food, great music, great association. Everything is great. Great philosophy. There's no holes in this philosophy. You can't find any. If you can find them, you can relay it to a senior devotee, and he'll fill the holes. He'll put a patch on the hole and help you out. So this Krishna consciousness movement, the wisest of men take it up. So this is not something that fools just jump into. Of course, like if somebody renounces prematurely and they're behaving in a way that they're trying something out that is not where they're at, this is false renunciation, and they'll come back down to not being able to operate on that platform. But the person who is actually situated in the proper platform of renunciation that he's exhibiting, he'll do everything very easily, just like a dance. There'll be no stress for it. You won't be disturbed. No disturbance. What disturbance is there? This is somebody who is starting to come over the material modes, being less affected by them, starting to achieve some type of transcendental relation to the world, to be in the world and not of it. This is the transcendentalist position. I believe Jesus Christ said that. So this is what we're learning to do. So the transcendentalist, he neither hates nor laments, nor he gets excited when good things comes, doesn't become exuberant. He remains equiposed. And this is difficult kind of to understand at first, because our minds are conditioned to like behaving in a reactory manner to everything else around us. This is how the material world seems to work. And people situated in it, they're more or less looking for a reaction out of you. So devotees, it's a little different, because they're more concerned with Krishna and their service than, exhibiting some reaction. And they're trying to actually remain equiposed in life so they can attain a transcendental position. So a practical example of this maybe we could use would be somebody who's driving every day to work. They're going on the roads of Kansas City and they see there's so much construction all the time. What the heck? Every time I get in my car, it seems like a new road is being built. I was thinking about this the other day. You're driving down the road, and every time it seems we go out to the store or something, buy some boga, there's another construction site, So somebody who has to drive on that path every day, on a road that they just keep working on. Some days they're putting in a new sewer pipeline. Some days they're paving it. Some days they're putting lines on the road. And this person, he has to drive in and he says, this government, they don't care about the citizens. We have to wait so long to drive. There's so much traffic. It's so dangerous. There's big holes in the road. They don't care. I hate driving on this road. This is really just a botheration. This is how somebody might react to this, Whereas on the other hand, somebody that same person, the road is paved and it's smooth and it's very nice. He says, oh, this is great. Nice paved road, put the windows down, and he's driving on his way to work. He's completely undisturbed and he desires that. I like it when roads are paved. I don't like to go on bumps. I don't like a bumpy ride. So similarly, if somebody says, I don't want to drive on this road anymore, but I have to get to work. And I said, well, you have to get to work, so I will gift you a nice helicopter. And you can fly into work every day. This person will say, great. He gets in his helicopter and he flies over the road. He's taking the same path, but he's no longer affected if the road is paved and smooth or if the road is construction and all types of bumpiness. It's no longer affected. He's still going, but he's above the road. So similarly, we can understand that this Krishna consciousness, what it's teaching us to do is it's teaching us to remain equiposed in a transcendental position. Where actually, if life becomes bumpy, if life becomes difficult, if there's a little construction going on in our life, we can recognize it as temporary and just part of the material energy and remain aloof from it, actually, not let it affect us, not let it sway our position left or right. Regardless, I'm going to meditate on Krishna. I'm going to chant Hare Krishna all the time. I'm going to hear about Krishna all the time. I'm going to do my service all the time. Whether the road is smooth or bumpy, it makes no difference to me. If something is difficult, doesn't matter. The devotee, in fact, sees that this difficult situation, Krishna, he's being merciful unto me because I actually deserve a lot worse. Look how much sinful activity I did in my life. And Krishna, he's really letting me off easy with this one. Not to mention, he's purifying me like anything. This road is bumpy. The shocks on my car are getting broken in. I'm getting used to being able to, go over bumps without any problems. And actually, I'm learning a lesson from it. You see, the devotee, he sees that everything is Krishna's arrangement. And he, especially for the devotee who's practicing, all the time, he's no longer engaged in material activity. It's all spiritual. Whether you're a grihasta going to work every day, it's not material, it's spiritual. If you have the proper understanding and the proper elevation of Krishna consciousness, if you're a truck driver, by all means, drive a truck for Krishna. But you know why you're driving that truck, even though it may look like some material activity. Or if you're a sannyasi, and sannyasi means renunciate, and one who's in the renounced order. Equally, they're both serving Krishna all the time. So the devotee, he's no longer engaged in material activity, so he knows for a fact that everything that's being arranged in his life is meant for his purification. And he's praying all the time, Krishna, let me understand why you're putting me in this position, or why you're putting these things in my life. How can I properly become purified from this? I know this is a prayer that I have to say all the time. Krishna, actually, how is it that you want me to learn from this? Because I know you're trying to show me something. You're trying to clean my heart in one way or another. Because you see, that's what I'm endeavoring for. Krishna, he's fulfilling all the desires of every living entity. And he's been waiting for us for countless lifetimes to come back to him. So when he sees that this devotee, he's made this decision to come back to me, Krishna, he'll show us the mercy. We can count on that. So we should be praying, when will that day be mine? When can I chant the names with tears flowing from my eyes? When can I actually appreciate devotees for who they actually are? When can I understand Krishna? When can I understand the person who's going to lead me to Krishna? So we need a leader. We can't just go alone. So we must take up the process of putting our guide in the forefront of our consciousness at all times. Because our guide is our life and soul. That's our only way back. That's our only way out of this. It's pleasing our guide. Pleasing devotees. It's so important. Especially pleasing the guide who will assist you on this path back home. So Krishna, he's saying that karma yoga and devotional service, they're the same as analytical study of the material world Samkhya, in the way that they both can lead us back to him. All of these paths of yoga are meant to link one with God, whether it's Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga. There's a lot of different yogas. They're all centered on linking one back to God. But this Bhakti Yoga process, it includes all of the other yogas in the yogic ladder of mysticism. It includes all of them. You don't have to make a separate endeavor anymore. Somebody doesn't need to stretch to purify their body, so it's no longer disturbed in different circumstances, so you can do service. And his body is fit, it remains fit for what his duties are. Naturally, it doesn't need to make an extra endeavor. So we go on chanting Hare Krishna, serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, associating with devotees, honoring the remnants, accepting things as mercy from Krishna. Everything is mercy from Krishna. Everything is prasadam. Actually, we should be seeing everything as prasadam. Nothing comes our way if it's not prasadam. Krishna, he's supplying the needs of every living entity. No matter if you're a 500-pound elephant who eats, what do they eat? 200 kgs a day? £200 a day. Yeah. A lot. That's a lot. I can't eat that much. Sometimes I wish I could, but I can't. The elephant, he can, because Krishna's providing it. Krishna's showing him mercy. So why should we do some extra endeavor to, go out and accumulate this or that? And Krishna, he's going to provide it regardless. He's taking care of this animal who eats that much a day. He can't even cut off a couple pounds of food for me, or whatever it may be. He does, no matter what. So we're always taken care of. So let us not worry if we're taken care of or not. Krishna, he'll take care of us. Just let us just go on with our service and try to keep him in the forefront of our consciousness. Whenever something comes our way, we can accept that thing. Like, wow, my Lord, you're so merciful. You've actually given me this. Thank you so much. That's a nice mood to have. Gratitude is very important. So does anyone have any comments or questions about anything? Yeah, Prabhu.
I had a few questions, but I'll just stick with one for now. So, I guess the question that I want to ask is, when you were saying that we need to learn, we should pray to Krishna to let us learn from our trials. My question is, so where do we get the patience to wait for Krishna to answer our prayers? What? Yeah.
It's a good question. Patience is a virtue, right? Yeah, patience it's very important. It's one of the things that Rupa Goswami recommends for things favorable to rendering devotional service. One must be patient. So to get the patience, we have to remain humble. If we're not humble, then we can't chant all the time. We don't have an air of humility about us, then we can't rely on the holy name. That can't be our sustenance. Because we're thinking I can do it on my own. So if we can develop some humility, then we can chant all the time. And patient. It doesn't matter if it comes or right now or it comes in 10,000 years. The fact is it's going to come. Krishna says it's going to come. Just like Murari is it Murari? Oh, it's something else. Another personality with an M. Lord Chaitanya was giving him a hard time because he was speaking and he was associating with some impersonalists or some people of a different philosophy. And Lord Chaitanya didn't want to see him anymore. He said, I'm not going to see you anymore because of this. He became upset. And the devotees, they were begging Lord Chaitanya, won't you see him? Mukunda. He was known as a great kirtanier. He could sing so sweetly, but he said, I don't want to see you anymore because of this association. And then the devotees, they were trying to get Lord Chaitanya to see him again, and he was refusing. And the devotee said, when will you see him? And he said, I'll see him in 10,000 years, or 10,000 births, I think it was. And then he just started jumping in ecstasy. My Lord, he'll see me in 10,000 births. How fortunate am I? And then right then and there, Lord Chaitanya knew, this person, he's great. This is a great personality, and he accepted him back. So we can understand that we should actually expect the mercy. And whether we have to wait a while or it comes right away, the mercy is going to come. And usually we can attribute most suffering that's happening in devotional life as to something spiritual, like I was saying, purification. And there's reactions for our activities, especially when you plug that fan out of the wall and it stops spinning, that fan of material life. When it starts to slow down, you engage in some type of material activity, and it's very noticeable that the fan starts picking back up again. If it's like almost not moving, and then you plug it in, it'll start again, right? It's really noticeable. So like, I've noticed when we're here, I was noticing this a lot, after getting here, after being here for some months, like that when we engage in like anything sinful, or like, it doesn't even have to be directly sinful. Like we're trying, we're keeping the regs, hopefully. But, when there's maybe something that's not that's not standard to Vaishnava etiquette or brahminical qualities, or in the mood of loving devotional service, we can see that a reaction, it actually comes pretty quickly. So we can usually attribute our sufferings to, some recent thing or past activity that I did, and we can usually figure it out. Our consciousness, we're trying to fix our consciousness, so we're cultivating our life in a way where we're very careful on what we do, so we don't have to incur, so we actually get out of karmic reactions, whether good or bad. So I hope that helps a little. It's not a super direct answer, but endeavoring with confidence and having patience and enthusiasm, these things are very good, very helpful. Accepting prasad, giving prasad, offering gifts, accepting gifts from devotees. Okay, are there any other questions? Yes, Mataji.
Hi, I was just wondering, the other Ashtanga yoga, wasn't that the originating yoga that was used for Vaishnava? And how did it, okay, so my question is, with that yoga, because it's a physical thing, but it's also spiritual, and I'm not just talking about asanas. How do people transition from the physical aspect of the yogas that they're doing which involves more than just asanas, but how would you transition from bhakti yoga, or is it a natural thing? Gradually, the more that you practice the bhakti yoga, the less you'd have a tendency to go towards the material aspects of the physical asanas, or if everything you do is done in devotion to Krishna, why would there be an issue with the physical aspects of that?
Ashtanga yoga is not, well, let's see. I'll answer the first question. So somebody can transition by receiving transcendental knowledge. You need jnana, being able to elevate on this process, So Ashtanga yoga, or the lower or the other forms of yoga, they're material because they're in relation to the body. Ashtanga yoga, it's used to actually purify the body in order for one to come to a platform where usually they're only getting realization of maybe Paramatma, which is super soul within the heart, or Brahman realization, which is understanding everything as God's energy. Now, I practiced various forms of yoga for many, many years, about 12 years before coming here. And I had those realizations from that, but it didn't give me the realization of Bhagavan. Although I knew God was a person, I didn't have any practical information about it. Now, I was practicing personally. It wasn't it was not so much a bodily. It was very kind of internal. It was in seclusion. Never going in public. Didn't tell anyone about it, like that. These other processes of yoga, they're good to an extent, up until somebody gets transcendental knowledge like you have. So if we apply this transcendental knowledge, there's no need to do the other processes of yoga because they're included. So to make the transition, you need knowledge. If somebody has actually received the knowledge, they need to put it into action. It's just about applying it. And then the other thing, there'll be no desire anymore to do it. Like when I came here, I was telling Krishna Bhagavan, look, I've been practicing yoga for a very long time every day. And, it was a long practice that I would do, more or less. And I was like, I don't know if I can actually just give it up like that. I feel my body is used to it and stuff. And he said, just give it up. 3 months, just try it. Don't do it anymore. Just do service. And after the 3 months, I went back to it I tried going back to it 2 or 3 days. And I thought, this is useless. I mean, I could be serving Krishna. I could be down washing Krishna's pots or cleaning his floor in the temple room. I could be hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna book. I could be making garlands, or I could be taking prasad with devotees right now. Why would I be stretching out my body when I know I'm not this body? Somebody who understands they're not their body, why are they going to make an endeavor to take care of it so much? So usually after it was brought to the West, this Patanjali yoga system, they're usually just related around sex life and the people engaged in it, because they're just trying to look good in yoga pants. They're just trying to lose weight. This is just merely on the bodily platform, and there's nothing spiritual about it. There's nothing spiritual about the yoga that people are practicing at these centers today. Nothing at all. It's just merely sense gratification and trying to look good in front of a mirror. The real spiritual yoga, it's very intense, and it's very different than what they're telling. And it starts with celibacy. That's the first thing. And you do it in a secluded place on a mat made of specific grass in a secluded holy place, actually. And holy place means it's near impossible to find. It's somewhere that's not contaminated by any animal killing whatsoever within like the whole country. You know, for the yogis to do this and actually make advancement, it makes no sense. And the yogis who used to practice it, they used to live hundreds of thousands of years. So it would take them so long, 60,000 years to reach perfection in this way by practicing yoga and controlling their breath restraint and, you know, not eating. It would take them so long. And then they would be able to have sufficient realization. And hopefully they would come to the path of bhakti. Because you're not developing love for God by stretching your body. You see, you're not. Real spirituality means caring for the soul, you know. So this bhakti yoga, if somebody who's inclined to do some yoga asanas, to do some breath work, we tell them, chant Hare Krishna. Try chanting Hare Krishna and see how controlled your mind will be. You reach a way higher state. You're of, you know, do devotional service. If you're inclined to stretch out, approach the authority in your temple and have him give you some service to do every day. And in that way, it will be taken care of. There will be no need. Now, if somebody has some health or whatever, yeah, they might do that on the side, but they're not doing it as a means for realization. They're just merely doing it so their body is maintained so they can do their service properly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I hope that helped. Srimad Bhagavad-gita, as it is, ki jai.